Culinary entrepreneurs, whether you are a chef, a food truck owner, a restaurateur, someone who has a bakery, pop up shop, you are at the farmers markets, this really is for you. And I'm going to talk today about the number one reason why food service businesses, why the owners stay stuck and they don't know why. So, if you are a food service owner, food service business of any type, this really is the lie for you. So I'm talking about you're busy, but are you profitable? That's what we're talking about today. So my name is Radisha, and I am a culinary business and management strategist. Typically, it's easier to say I'm a restaurant consultant, but I don't only consult with restaurants. It's anything to do with the food industry. Prior to what I'm doing now, I used to be a culinary college professor. And I've worked in different segments of the food industry that really give me a diverse background on it. I used to be a marketing associate for the world's largest food distribution company, also. So I'm talking about you're busy, but are you profitable? So I have a class coming up, Culinary Entrepreneurship, the business side of food, and this is for food service owners. And these are some of the things that I'll be talking about in class. That's a part of the curriculum without giving away the entire curriculum. So the number one reason why you're stuck and you don't know why. I wonder, do you know what's the reason? The number one reason why most entrepreneurs are stuck and they don't know why is because they think that them being busy and doing certain activities is actually bringing them in business. It's actually work that's going to translate to an income, when it's not necessarily true, right? So most culinary entrepreneurs confuse activity with progress. And so, one of the things I would like for you to really do is if someone asks you to list everything that you did in your business in a week, how much of it directly led to money in your bank account? Those would be considered income producing activities. It's something that's going to make sure that you get money, right? So, you can be busy from sun up to sundown and still not make a dime. How do I know that? That was me prior to, until I learned how to do certain things during business hours and how to do things after business hours or to outsource it or hire someone. So being in that trap or that belief that you have to do everything in your business can really be hurting. And you might say, okay, well, it's the beginning of my business. I have to do it myself. That may be true, and it may not be true at the same time. And when you come in, you can introduce yourself. You can let me know who you are. What type of business do you have? Do you have a food truck? Do you have a restaurant? Do you have like a pop up shop, a ghost kitchen? Like, what type of business is it that you have? And what are some of the challenges that you're facing? My name is Radisha. I'm a culinary business and management strategist. Typically, people like to call me a restaurant consultant, but I don't only deal with restaurants. And I've been in the food industry for 23 years. And so I have a class coming up that teaches you how to run and operate your food service business like an actual business for profitability and sustainability so that it'll be around for many years to come. So there's a lot of work that is necessary, but it's invisible to the bottom line. So let's talk about examples of work. I had clients before who focused on certain activities like their branding and their marketing or testing recipes, but those recipes never went to market. Those would be considered non income producing activities because even though you're testing it and you're busy, it didn't add anything to your bottom line. If anything, it took money away from your bottom line because you invested in getting those ingredients and those different things, but you never had it available for customers to be able to purchase, right? So it's very important to actually have a list structured. Like for me, this is my folder. And for every day of the week, I have a checklist of activities that I need to do in my business that will bring me money. This is what I'm talking about, actually having structure, not thinking in your mind, okay, this is what it is that I have to do, and just doing it off the top of your head. You actually have to track every day, what is it that I'm doing that will bring money into my business? Because the right action and the right activities, when done enough, will bring you results. It's just a matter of probability and statistics. So it might seem like, hey, I keep doing these things, but you have to be consistent with doing it. And if you know someone who's in the food industry who would benefit from this information, I invite you to invite them to this live also. I'll be on for like another 20 minutes. So, train of thought. So, when I was in business initially, there was a lot. I was just like doing everything and I wasn't focused on certain actions or activities. And I felt like, okay, well, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, but money wasn't coming in. According to Forbes, I'm going to read the statistic. According to a Forbes article, 72% of small business owners feel overwhelmed by their responsibilities, but less than 30% track what tasks actually lead to revenue. You have to have income producing activities systematized into your business. It has to be something that you're intentional about. And the thing is, when you look at what you actually did, you'll realize that sometimes you could have allocated that time better. So it's good to be creative. And oftentimes, chefs don't like me as a business consultant because they think that I came to stifle their creativity, but it's not true. When they listen and they actually join into what it is that I'm trying to show them, it allows them to be more creative and it allows them to be able to showcase their skills and their talents and their expertise in a way that would be great. I'll give an example. There's a chef that I'm vaguely familiar with, right? And great name, all kind of media appearances, everything like that. Great skill. Someone invested in their concept recently. And I mean, this person has been promoting themselves for years. So this was like a dream opportunity. Worked for the best of companies across the world. Their business did not last, I don't think, 6 months. It was so predictable to me. I could see from the moment that he started sharing about it, he started talking about it, I could see where it was not going to work. And why did it not work? Because the lease was too expensive. They thought that because their food was so great, because their food was so amazing, people were just going to be running through the doors. Great food isn't enough to attract customers. They need to have an experience. There has to be so much more into it. If you're only focusing on the food that you're serving and nothing else, that's a recipe for disaster. One of the things that I love to do with my clients is teach them how to have multiple streams of income in their business. We have to create at least 7 revenue streams for your business. So in the culinary entrepreneurship class that I'm starting this month in July, July's tomorrow, it's teaching you how to create a sustainable business. It's teaching you how to make money off the things that you already have. It's teaching you how to be set up where if things aren't doing good in this direction, you still have money and income and revenue coming in from another direction. That, there are patterns. And I always say that if you know that you have a problem and you see that this is a recurring issue, it is your responsibility to create a solution to it. If you choose not to create a solution to it, that means that you want that problem to stay. So if you know that you have a certain issue with customer service in a particular thing, you have to create a solution to it. So if you have the same problem on a regular basis and you don't address it at the root source, like what's actually causing it, that is irresponsible as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a manager. You have to address those things so that is no longer a concern for you. I'll just leave it there in that vague way because that can go into all different kinds of directions. But right now, what we're talking about is culinary entrepreneurs, whether you have a food truck, a restaurant, a ghost kitchen, whatever type of food business, an online brand, do you know what your income producing activities are? And I want you to drop it in the comment section for me. What do you think an income producing activity is? And I can list tons of them, but I want to see if you guys know because it's the invisible work that you're doing, things that are draining you, and it's not bringing money into your business. So I can clearly tell and see from the beginning if a business is going to thrive, if it's going to succeed, if it's going to be successful. And I'm just finding that too many food businesses do not have their clear activities that they need to do every day besides cooking food to bring money into their business. So, what do you think an income producing activity would be for a food service business? What types of businesses do you have? Do you find ways of attracting new clients or customers? You say food business clients, you could have clients and you have a restaurant. There's tons of ways to have clients. You could have clients if you have a ghost kitchen. There's different ways that you could bring that business in versus just selling plates of food. To me, selling plates of food is such the basic level of bringing in income. Like you have to have something more than that. It's like right now, I'm getting ready to consult with someone who has a food truck, and I have an entire program designed for them. So, are you a food truck owner, and are you only thinking about popping up to the popular spots where all the other food trucks are? Because if you do that, yeah, you have visibility and you're showing up, but then you have tons of other food trucks that you might be competing against. Even though you have a different product than them, it's still saturated. So, as a food truck owner, you can have such a dynamic business built out. You can have a minimum of 7 streams of income coming from that business. You just have to understand what business is. Who's a food truck owner in the chat? And like, what is it that you're doing for your business that makes it stand out and bring you in income when the other ones are struggling? All of this is a part of my curriculum to teach you these things because I'm a business consultant. So people tend to pay me a lot of money for these strategies. And so what I've decided to do is to take my hat as a consultant and a strategist and put on my teaching hat. I've been teaching in the industry for about 20 years. I was the youngest culinary college professor when I was in school. So I have diverse experience. And if you want to, you can type in my first name in entrepreneur online and then articles that I wrote for entrepreneur.com for entrepreneur media. They'll come up about advice that I give for the food service industry. So I actually was a contributing writer for a large publication for the Entrepreneur Leadership Network. So the information I'm sharing with you isn't just like someone's coming online and talking. Like I actually have credibility. I actually have a background and a degree in what I'm doing. I have tons of experience. And so that's what this class will be full of, like getting real industry knowledge. But what other people don't realize too is I've seen people say, okay, well, I managed this restaurant. I worked in this particular thing. I can do it. I've seen people who worked for franchises get the franchise book and they try to replicate it for their particular brand. That doesn't work either because what that franchise did with their standard operating procedures and systems and processes work specifically for their brand. So even if you worked for a franchise or you worked for another company and you saw that they had good systems, it doesn't mean that it's going to translate well to your business. So having customers, getting new leads, that's very important in a food service business. And there's different ways that we'll talk about getting new leads or sales in class, right? Or getting clients. We'll talk about that. How can you acquire clients regardless of the type of food business that you have? Having offers available for people. There was a client that I had before, and people would always ask for a particular thing, and they would always say no. And I said, people are literally coming to you and offering you big money to do this particular thing. Why are you turning this business down? This is guaranteed money. You're going to turn away guaranteed money for a possibility of what could walk through the door? That doesn't make any sense to me. I was able to create a program for them with procedures in place where the staff had to be trained on it. And that was such good money for them. I mean, like large companies would come, like Google would come to try to have business at their place and stuff. You know, it's like large names will come. So this isn't anything like on a small scale that I'm speaking about. So in your business, what is it that people are always asking you for that you keep telling them no, you can't do? Because when your customers say that they want a particular thing, they're telling you how they want to spend the money with you. So you have to make it as easy as possible for them to spend money with you. If customers keep asking for a particular thing and you keep saying no, remember when you're in business, you're here to serve the public. It's not always about your preferences. It's about what your customers want. Thank you guys for joining the live. So, in addition for this, for food businesses, there's ways that you can sell your services, sell your products that you have. So let's say, for instance, you have a signature item. There's different things that you can do that when people are away from your business, they can still have access to it. And there's multiple routes that we can go through that. I love to show people like what is it that they have already where they could make money on it in so many different ways. Now, I'm going to tell you what are not income producing activities. I'm going to be very clear with this for you, right? Redesigning your website is not an income producing activity. Yes, it's there and it's helping your business in some way, shape, form, or fashion, but you actually redesigning it is not an income producing activity. Another thing that isn't is posting pictures of your food, but not having a call to action. So you're showing how great your food is, but where's the information? Where's the value? We see your food is cute. Let them know what it is, how much it is, when they could get it. Have a link where they can go ahead and order it. Or if you have, like you have a cottage business or you're cooking from home, wherever you're doing it from, like let them know how they can order from you, when they could order from you, etc. Right? Then another thing that is not an income producing activity that you shouldn't be doing during business hours is researching endlessly. All this research and preparation without actually implementing anything, that is not bringing you in money. That is wasting your time completely. Also, not having a structured workday. This I find to be such a great challenge of the industry that when people work for themselves, they don't have a structured schedule. I'm up between 4 and 5 o'clock every single morning. I get my workout in, and I'm typically working from about 6:30 in the morning. Today was the latest day that I had ever when I started to work, and it was about 9 o'clock this morning that I started working. Even if you work from home, you have to have a structure and a schedule. Even if your business is in the beginning stages, you have to have it done. And the most important thing to have done in your business before you start your business are your systems and processes. If you start just having great food and amazing food and just doing things they say by the seat of your pants or whatever, it's going to have a compounded effect when you actually do start and operate your business because that's how you've always been doing it. So another thing that's not an income producing activity for food service business is organizing folders, your inboxes, your office supplies. So you might have an office and you feel like, okay, I'm organized, I'm getting things done. What could you be doing that's bringing money in? You could be watching free business content, but not applying it. So, like, if you're listening to me and you can, take notes. Take notes about things that I'm saying that you might see applies to you and then do it differently. So, another thing is don't look at free content as free because it costs somebody something. When people come to me for an initial consultation, just to speak with me for an hour, they spend good money. And so people find that because there's a saturation of free information, people don't tend to see the value of it, but there is. Another thing is that's not an income producing activity is spending hours on Canva making graphics with no attached offer. You have to attach your offers. So if there's anything that you're doing for your business, make sure that you attach your offers to it. Anything you post, you need to have offers for it. That's like I've already let you guys know that starting in July, I have my culinary entrepreneurship class. Culinary entrepreneurship, the business side of food, where I teach you how to set up and establish a solid culinary business. I teach you from the perspective of a business consultant and strategist in the food industry, but I put on my teaching hat. And why do I do that? Because I found that when people have a teachable and coachable spirit, they do better. When clients hire me to do work, they tend to have it from the perspective of they're hiring me to do project management or certain things. So, okay, the results are supposed to come. But the interesting thing is, once I leave their business, if they didn't learn what I was doing at that time, would it be sustainable? Because my clients tend to be extremely wealthy and they just want things done. But I always tell them, you have to watch what I'm doing, you have to learn what I'm doing so that when I'm not here, you can maintain what it is that I started. So that's the advantage of being a part of this class, is that you're learning from me as a business consultant firsthand on how to do it. So when you're done with the class, once you practically and appropriately apply what I'm teaching you, guess what? Now you have a better chance at thriving in an industry that's known to just devour new entrepreneurs, because we already know what the statistics are. They fail at an alarming rate, right? What's another thing that's not an income producing activity? Watching webinars and going to networking events and not following up. If you're going to these events but you're not following up, it's not an income producing activity. Even as a food service business owner, whether you have a food truck, a bakery, you're a chef, you have a restaurant, you have to know how to network and meet with other people and connect. You have to find businesses that will complement one another. So I never mentioned that I'm a licensed real estate broker on this particular live, but I am. I'm a licensed real estate broker. So when I show people about getting their commercial locations, I show them how they should have. So let's say, for instance, you have. So let's say, for instance, you have. Let's see, a restaurant. You may not want to be in the same plaza as another type of restaurant, right? But it'll be good if there are office buildings around, doctors' offices, schools, preschools, different types of businesses, because you're not competing with one another. And I actually wrote an article on this. The article for that one will be on my LinkedIn profile. So if you type in my name on my LinkedIn profile, it's an article where I teach you how to choose commercial real estate from the mindset of your ideal clients. Because with that, you may think having a turnkey location, which means you just go in and you start business, is beautiful, high traffic area. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing, right? But that may not be ideal for your business, especially if your clients want exclusivity. So if you're opening like a high end type business, they may not want to be somewhere clearly visible for everyone. Depends on the business you have. So that's like a whole article that addresses tons of different things in it. And that's on my LinkedIn profile. And all of these things are linked in my bio, actually. So my company's website, my LinkedIn profile, the articles that I wrote for Entrepreneur, they're all on my link in bio for this web page, right? So another thing is scrolling social media for inspiration. That's not an income producing activity. Planning but not executing. So if I'm telling you what are not income producing activities, you now know what are some income producing activities, right? Some of them saying not to do these things. Now you know what to do, correct? So, and I also want to say this. If you're perfecting something that nobody asked for yet, that's not helping your business either. So if there's certain things that people want all the time, that is what you should give them. And it's funny because there's certain things that we think will cause our business to be successful or to blow up, but our customers want something different. That's why it's always good to survey them to find out what it is that they want. That is really, really important. Finding out what your customers need, want, and desire, and what they're willing to spend money on versus assuming that. So if you're starting out new in this business, I would encourage you to test out the market, to have people who you know first, try the things that you have, expand from there, but always get feedback. Always find a way to get feedback from people about what it is that you're doing. Because if you really listen to your customers and your clients, they will make you successful easily. And I think that probably should be one of the biggest takeaways for you from this live. If you listen to your customers and your clients, they will tell you everything that you need to know to be successful if you listen to them. So when you look at your food service business, I want you to look at it from the mindset of a business and not having the best plate of food, because having the best food does not dictate success. You can have amazing food and end up taking that home with you every day, or giving it away, or it's a waste. So always have a way of listening to your customers and getting feedback instead of looking at them as a nag or a pest or a bother. If you have that type of attitude towards them, it won't work at all. I've watched people who have celebrity name businesses, celebrities backing it, known in Hollywood, businesses didn't last. They invested so much and it did not last. So I've seen so many different things happen in this industry that is just as clear as day to me on what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. Even if you're in the food service industry and you have some type of culinary focused business, you could even have lives. You can talk to people. You can show them stuff. You can ask them questions. You can engage them. Like, even though I'm speaking to you guys now and I'm not necessarily having the feedback because you might be busy, right? That doesn't mean that somebody won't talk to me later. That doesn't mean that somebody won't send me a message. And then look at social media as marketing and advertising for your business. Just because you may not like to come on social media doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Look at doing lives and posting the same as marketing and advertising, but not necessarily having to pay for it like you would if you did it on cable TV or something. There's millions of people out here. There are people who I've worked with whose operations are destination type businesses. I mean, people literally come from the airport and go directly there. They fly in, go directly to their business, visit it just about every day on their trip. And when they're going back, they stop there before they go. So when I'm talking about business, I'm talking about like really successful businesses that I've worked with. And I don't call client names. I don't, say things about who particular clients are. That's just me. I'm just confidential like that with it. And then you can know that when you come to me for classes or you come to me for consulting, whatever it is that you share will still be kept, private. So that's something that's very important when you're building your business. The first article that I would recommend you guys reading from me that's on entrepreneur is it's like the seven tips that I give people when they start in the food industry. So if you're new, especially, or you find yourself having challenges and you don't understand why you're not successful or you're not receiving the success that you desire, I recommend you reading that. Okay, so this is just some of the things I want to share with you from the entrepreneurship perspective. And other things that I want you guys to be careful with doing is always rewriting your menu over and over without launching it. Like, just keep rewriting menus. That's that brings confusion to your customer base also. And then if you're always like updating your prices and you're not sharing it, that causes confusion with your customers. And I'll tell you, there've been people who I've watched start business early on. I mean, I was there for the foundational years for them, like some of their first customers. And I stopped doing business with them because of customer service. I'm that kind of person, whether you're my friend or not, or family or not. Business is business and personal is personal. And I find that if you take me for granted as a customer and I don't receive the service that I'm supposed to receive, especially I'm paying full price because I don't ask for discounts from from like friends or anything like that, I won't do business with you anymore. And I wouldn't even tell you why. I've had friends who I didn't do business with because they didn't bring forth professionalism to the transaction. And that's another thing I want to say to you, that when you're in business, whether it's a family member or a friend or a stranger, your level of customer service should always be superior regardless of who it is. If my mom purchased something for my business, I treat her just like the best client ever. Whether somebody who I don't know purchases from me, I still treat them the same way. I'm always going to make sure that I give you the best possible experience as possible that lends credibility to you as a professional. When you show up, you want to show up looking well groomed. You want to make sure you do that with your image. You want to make sure that you are organized, that you're punctual, that you're timely, that people know what to expect. This is important. This is very important because I've been in business now. I've been in business over a decade. I've been an entrepreneur for like 20 something years, right? But with this particular company, I've had it for more than a decade. Do not assume that people understand your business, please. Please don't do that. I've not worked with people because I went in expecting a certain level of professionalism and they had nothing in place for it. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't receive XYZ. Oh, I'm not offering you that. But you said I was going to receive whatever the case may be. Or don't promise things or give like a guarantee, but you're just saying it in an exaggerated way. Like, don't tell me we're going to make $100,000 together when I sign with you for this particular thing and I don't make $1,000. When you told me that I'm going to make 100,000, that sounded like a product, a service guarantee, and I have it on recording, and now I don't have it. So why did I pay you this money? So now you have to refund me, like whatever you're going to do, because this I paid for this because you told me that's what I was going to accomplish. So when you're offering your products and your services, make sure that you're very clear about your deliverables and have it in writing. And I'd like to tell my students that an agreement and a contract are different in business. An agreement, anybody can write contracts with attorneys. So make sure that you have agreements or contracts in place, but don't change the wording. Don't tell somebody you're going to write a contract because I know in my state that's called the illegal practice of law. This is just for educational purposes I'm sharing with you. So always make sure that you have agreements in place in business, even as a food service operator. Make sure that I've watched a lot of companies have issues with disputes because they didn't have clear refund terms and conditions. So in your business, another thing about making sure that you're organized is make sure that even as a small business, even if you feel like you only have 10 customers, on your site, wherever it is, you have to have your policies clearly laid out. I want you guys to understand how important it is to have your the business part, the refund policies, the transactional things, the food safety warning, all those things are so important to have those done in your business, especially as a food service business. Because why? You're serving food, and sometimes people can pass away if something wasn't done correctly. So you have to even have like your disclaimers and your warnings on the menu. That's so important. Having your food safety training, having all the staff done. There's so much that we can go into. I just want to let you know that when you sign up for this class, when you come in this class, you're going to get some amazing information. And another thing I didn't mention about myself, I'm an international instructor and proctor when it comes down to these different industry certification classes. So, like the Serve Safe class that you guys have to do, whether it be like the manager, the alcohol, the food handler, all those things, I've been teaching that stuff forever. Like, I can teach that entire class in 2 to 3 hours, and that's 10 chapters. And I have a very high passing rate. So I also take practical things that you guys have issues with and make it in an easy to understand kind of way. That's like I teach clients how to always pass their health inspection by having certain systems and processes in place. So can you imagine the information you're going to get in this class? So you should really go to the link in the bio, or you can go to my company's website, culinarymanagement.co, and you can look at the program that I have and see some of the things it's about and say, okay, well, is this worth making the investment in my business? I mean, it is, because I don't do things unless it makes sense. But nonetheless, it's there. And then you can read about things about the company, which is a culinary management company where we provide professional resources for culinary businesses. Now, I do talk fast sometimes, but in class, I'll make sure that you can keep up with me. So let's recap some things that are not income producing activities before I get off, because we'll conclude at 12 my time, Eastern Standard Time, right? Posting pretty food pictures without having a call to action. Making reels for trends without having offers attached to them. Designing flyers that you don't distribute or don't have the information. I am so tired of seeing people's social media profiles and I have no idea where their business is. I'm like, oh, that food looks amazing, but I don't know where they're located. So when you're sharing information about your business, please let people know where it is. Now, see on my profile, it doesn't list where I am because it doesn't make a difference where I am. So, what I'm offering right now is virtual, but I am located in South Florida. So, but if people wanted to work with me, they don't have to be in South Florida to work with me. It's stuff that can be done virtually. But I have flown to do client work before. So that's something I have done to train. I think it was a 5-star hotel in the Bahamas. I flew over there to do the training for their food and beverage department before. Another thing is taking photos for dishes that aren't available to order. So don't take pictures of food that people can't order, please. Another thing, remember, building your website during business time is not an income producing activity. It's not bringing you any money in, watching content, not applying it. So we want to make sure that in your food business, especially, that you have at least 7 sources of income, 7 revenue streams. I'll teach you this in the class. And with the class, it'll have 2 options. It'll have it where you just come for the live sessions because the sessions will be live. So you can ask me questions. And then it'll also be where you can have office hours with me where you can actually come in and ask me questions. So those would be the different options where you either just take the class or you have accessibility to me also. Now, do you have any questions for me before we conclude? Because I have income producing activities to do. Remember I told you I have my book with my checklist of things? And so I have other things that I have to go ahead and do. But this was just me coming on, sharing with you because I'm very passionate about the food industry. I love everything about it. I just get exhausted with seeing us fail, seeing people invest all of these resources and not get a return from it, you know? So this is really the time to get together and understand what you should be focusing on. And this is what I'll say. What you need to focus on is outside of the kitchen. Yep. The things that you need to focus on in your business that's going to make it successful is outside of the kitchen. Because if you realize basically everything I was saying is outside of the kitchen. Did you find anything valuable from this conversation today? Let me know what was your biggest takeaway. We want to make sure that you're doing strategic planning for profit. This would be the time when you can actually pick my brain in class. You're like, Radisha, Miss Francis, ask me these different questions. Or, I'm having this issue. What can I do? You actually have access to me. And I'm actually quite personable. I seem unapproachable, but I'm not. That's just the look. Does anyone have a takeaway? I know sometimes the lives are delayed, so you might not be able to respond like the moment I'm saying it, but we're winding down to like the last minute. Can you identify with anything that I've shared? Well, remember, I'm Radisha, and my company is a culinary management company where we provide professional resources for culinary businesses. I have a class coming up. The company has a class coming up, Culinary Entrepreneurship, the business side of food, starting in July. It's going to teach you the things that you need to know how to own and operate a successful food business. You can go to the link in my bio to find out more about the class. You can look at the application, look at the program, see if it's something that you're interested in and you're willing to make the investment in your business. And I'm going to be going, my intention is to go live every day this week. And we could have more conversations about different aspects of the curriculum. Because remember, I am a real instructor. I've been a professor at a culinary college. And I am an international instructor in progress. I'm a real teacher, a real business consultant. So you'll be getting real world information. It won't be theory or like one of these, some of these influencers coming on saying stuff and they don't really know what they're talking about. Like I really know what I'm talking about. And go read my articles. Link in bio from Entrepreneur. I wrote like 3 articles. So you could go ahead and read those and that'll be a good starting point until we see each other in class or the next live. Thank you for joining me today.